Okay, so today we're diving into an AI that's not just another step forward, it really feels like a leap. We're talking about Google's Gemini 3, and it is already making some serious waves. We're going to break down what makes this thing tick, see how it's being used in the real world, like right now, and figure out if it really is the new top dog in the world of AI. All right, let's jump in.
But before we get into the weeds, let me just ask you this. What if an AI could see and understand the world kind of like we do? Not just through words on a page, but by looking at images, crunching data, and reading text, all at the very same time in one seamless process. It sounds like sci-fi, I know, but that is exactly what we're talking about today.
So the magic word here is multimodal AI. What does that actually mean? Well, think about it. You don't just read about the world, right? You see it, you hear it, you use all your senses together to make sense of things. A multimodal AI is built to do the exact same thing with information, and that's the real game changer. It's not just about text anymore. It's about this deep, connected understanding of images, audio, data, the whole shebang.
Okay, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Let's make this super practical. Imagine you're on a marketing team, right? You feed the AI a picture of your cool new product. Then, you give it the sales data in a spreadsheet. And finally, you toss in a simple text file with all the raw, unfiltered customer feedback. And bam, just like that, Gemini 3 connects all the dots. It sees the product, it gets the sales trends, it analyzes what people are saying, and it spits out a summary with insights you can actually go and use. Think about that. It's like having a creative and strategic superpower on your team.
All right, so let's see where this incredible power is making a real impact. And we're talking about fields where the stakes are, well, as high as they get. First up, the clinic.
And look, it's not just about, brute force data crunching. As Google's own researchers put it, for an AI to be genuinely helpful in medicine, it needs to be able to reason like a doctor. It has to connect all these different pieces of information and tap into this vast well of specialized medical knowledge. This is where Gemini 3's reasoning engine really shines. It's not just giving answers, it's thinking.
Which brings us to Med Gemini. This is a version of the model that's been specifically trained for the medical world, and this is just incredible. We're not talking about just reading some text. No, this thing can look at something as ridiculously complex as a 3D CT scan and write a comprehensive radiology report from what it sees. That's a level of visual understanding that is just on another planet.
And get this. This is where it gets really serious. In one case, a human radiologist looked at a scan and gave it the all clear, but Med Gemini 3D analyzed that exact same scan, and it found something. A subtle but absolutely critical issue that the human eye had missed. We're talking about a catch that could literally save a life.
And just so you know, that wasn't some lucky guess. On a benchmark test that pulls questions from the US medical licensing exam, we're talking one of the hardest professional tests out there, Med Gemini hit a 91.1% accuracy. That isn't just good, that is a brand new world record. The takeaway here is clear. This AI is performing at a truly elite expert level.
From the operating room to the boardroom, let's switch gears and see how Gemini 3 is changing the way we work. We're now in the age of agentic AI. Think of these less like a search engine and more like an active co-pilot, an AI that can take on tasks and manage workflows for you.
And one of the biggest players in finance, Wells Fargo, is going all in. I mean, check out what they're doing. They're using these agents to summarize incredibly complex financial questions in seconds. They're having them search through 250,000 legal documents instantly. And they're giving employees a kind of super search for all their internal company knowledge. It's like having a whole team of brilliant assistants who never sleep.
And listen, this is not just some small experiment they're running. In their public announcement, they called this partnership a defining moment. That's a huge statement. It just goes to show you how seriously major companies are taking this technology and its potential to completely reshape their business.
Okay, so we've seen what it can do out in the wild, in medicine, and business. But how do people actually build with this stuff? This is where the Gemini 3 API comes in. And it's more than just an update, it's a totally new way of working with AI.
For anyone who's a developer, probably the biggest shift is how you talk to it. With the old way of doing things, you had to write these super long, complicated prompts to kind of nudge the AI into thinking logically. It was a whole thing. But now, because Gemini 3 just gets it, you can be direct. Simple instructions. Done. It saves so much time and lets you focus on building.
The new API also gives developers all these new knobs and dials to play with. You can literally adjust the thinking level to tell the AI how hard it should think about a problem.
You can tweak the media resolution to decide how closely it should look at an image. And with something called thought signatures, you can basically give the AI a memory, so it remembers the context of your conversation. It's all about giving you fine-tuned control.
Okay, so we know it's powerful. We know it's versatile. But there's the big question, right? The one everyone's asking in this space. Is it really the best? It's time to see how Gemini 3 stacks up against the competition.
All right, so who's the champ? Let's let the numbers do the talking.
Here we go. Head-to-head, Gemini 3 Pro versus GPT 5.1 on some key tests. And right off the bat, you can see Gemini 3 is an absolute monster, a perfect score on a really tough math test. It just demolishes the competition on understanding what's happening on a screen, and it excels at those really complex, long-term tasks. Now, coding is basically a statistical tie. GPT 5.1 is ahead by a hair, but overall, the data here tells a pretty compelling story.
I mean, let's just park on this for a second. On a math test that uses problems from the Math Olympiad, some of the hardest problems out there, Gemini 3 Pro got a perfect score, 100%. Honestly, that's just wild.
But this next one, this is where it gets insane. This test measures how well an AI understands what's on your computer screen. Buttons, text, images, all of it. Gemini 3 scores over 72%. GPT 5.1 gets 3.5%. That isn't just a win, that's a total blowout. It shows just how far ahead Gemini 3 is when it comes to understanding our visual digital world.
Look, benchmarks are one thing, but at the end of the day, what does this actually mean for real people? This quote from a Reddit user just says it all. They took a few photos of their child's skin condition, asked Gemini 3 about it, and it nailed the diagnosis. That's not a party trick. That's a tool that saved a family time, money, and a ton of anxiety. That's the real power here.
So, where does that leave us? Gemini 3 clearly isn't just the next model in a sequence. It feels like a true reasoning engine, one that understands our world in a much more holistic way. And it's already making a huge difference, everywhere from hospitals to Wall Street. It's a real glimpse into a future where AI isn't just a tool we use, but a true collaborator. Which, of course, leaves us with the big question. This is the power of AI today. What will we build with it tomorrow?